All right, so we are live for another Travel Tip Tuesday, and today my guest is Anna Valencia Tillery, and her family have created River Roamin with the Tillerys, and it's been really cool to see their experiences and what they've done. So I'm really excited to have her on and to talk about it. So thank you, Anna, for joining me today.
Well, happy Tuesday. I love Travel Tip Tuesday. I love alliteration, so this is fun, Lucy.
Yeah, no, I love it too. I love any type of pun I can get my hands on. But yeah, so I want people to understand where you guys came from to start with. So tell us about how you guys even got started with all of this. Is this the beginning of your adventure, or did you have something before?
Well, the pontoon, hence the River Roamin, is definitely new. That's all since COVID. Yet it's the previous experiences, RVing and doing state parks, that we fell in love with the notion that we were a family that could handle it. But now with the pontoon, one has to improvise. You can't have the truck, the RV, and the boat. So we glamp.
There you go. So what were you guys doing before? You guys were just camping like normal with the camper and such?
Yeah, so we rented from a private fleet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, very nice.
So no 1-800-RENT me going down the street. No. It was a private fleet, and we loved it. But you couldn't get on the water the same way, not having the same experiences. And then when COVID hit and we wanted to do more fishing and get on the water because most of the piers were closed, this idea evolved.
Very cool. So then you guys don't actually like take the boat from here and like go all the way up there on the river. You take it on, like, how do you transport it? You transport it with your truck, right?
Yep. So we have a brand new pontoon with the trailer. Bass Pro did a sweet setup. It was easy. Came with a 10-year warranty, so we feel really comfortable going out and getting lost and knowing that it's a newer product that we can feel, safe with. And yeah, so we take it, we trailer it all the way to any state park. In fact, the next one is the Suwannee River State Park, and that's going to be our furthest thus far with our little glamping ensemble as we cruise down the back roads of Florida.
Very cool. I like that. So, is that your first boat that you guys have owned, or your first pontoon boat? Oh, so it's your first boat ever?
Yeah. Super excited.
So what made you chose a pontoon boat for, like, what made you guys decide on the pontoon boat itself and not just maybe a regular boat that you guys could travel around in?
That's a good question. So we've fallen in love with pontoons. Years ago, we started going to this place on the St. Johns River, Pontoon Landing, which I love. And it's on its own marina. And so from there, you could rent a pontoon boat for the day for just like $100 and change, and be able to go fishing and have all these experiences and get lost on the river. So we knew that we were a family that gravitated towards that already. Yet the new pontoon we have is the Bass Buggy Pro. So in it, it's designed for fishing. So there's spots for the fishing poles, there's a live well, and then there's like the little comfy sofa spot just for this month of winter. It's a sweet thing. And then during our daily, weekend excursions here locally, whenever we get on the river and want to bring friends, it can comfortably seat 7. So that's a nice mix too, because then you have more of an intimate group. It's not a huge party boat.
Yeah, no, it definitely is considered a party boat, those pontoons, but they're always so fun. I can't say that I've ever been on a pontoon boat other than when I went on the one locally here in Stewart, where it's the tiki taxi, because that's technically a huge pontoon boat.
Yeah,
technically
a little bit different. Yeah,
a little bit different. Yeah.
Fun.
But other than that, I haven't been like on a small intimate setting type of pontoon boat, but they always have been curious to me too. I feel like you get a lot more room to work around it with. I'm curious as to how they kind of just like it's cruising, right? It's not, you're not going high speeds on those things.
Not really, although we can get up and go with the less amount of people, the faster you can go. And you know, when you're on the rivers, most of the rivers have huge areas that are no wake. So you can't go that fast and you can't create that sort of turbulence because of the wonderful marine life that lives underneath those waters. So the pontoon is really a great solution for that. You can't go that fast. You're floating kind of high. So even if there's big boulders and things, you can see it and you can navigate. We invested in the trolling motor, so that allows us to get back in some of those nooks and crannies that the rivers are so well known for. Here in Florida, by the way, we have 103 rivers. So the goal is to go down every river in Florida, and we've got a lot of work to do.
And how far are you? So 103, and you've done how many so far?
7 completed and 8 in our future. Yeah, very soon. Mm-hmm.
Very nice. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And you've done that. So what? When did you actually purchase the pontoon boat? When was that?
Yeah, so that was the end of April, and we took her out on her maiden voyage Mother's Day weekend.
What a nice Mother's Day.
It really was. And so we've just been steadily going ever since. And, you know, one of the things when it comes to the state parks is that a lot of them are limited to the number of campsites they have. So you might have, give or take, 30, 40 sites. Some of them you could have upwards of 100. But, you know, when there's 30 or 40 sites and other people have discovered them and love them, you really have to be diligent in making sure you reserve ahead of time. So being that we got it at the end of April and the onset of COVID, and lots of people had the same idea to go camping, maybe not glamping like I'm doing it, it's way fun, and comfortable in Florida, which we need. But we got lucky in some of our spots. The timing was just right where we were able to get into some of the more popular parks by the hair of our chinny chin chin, like the Suwannee River we're about to go to. It was the last site left, and it's a dinky, dinky little site where if you had a 30-foot RV, which is like a small RV, you couldn't fit. So we really lucked out because we got the last site available in this particular instance.
That's awesome. So that's been 4 months, and you've been, so it's this weekend, right? Your next trip.
Yeah.
So that'll be in 4 months. Yeah. 8 trips. That's good. That's like every other weekend, girl.
Yeah. So moving forward, it'll be 1 weekend a month. You know, now that school's back in session and work wants us back in person and so forth. But when there's a little bit of flexibility, yeah, I was knocking out too.
I like that. No, and I mean, I think that especially right now with COVID, it's kind of crazy. So many people are changing their travel habits, and that's kind of why I started this whole thing, is because everybody's wondering like what's going to happen with travel, how things are going to be changing, and really it's what people are expecting and what people want to do now, because people are now, I feel, getting more into nature. They're really just kind of expanding into that because it's easier than being like, oh, well, I can socially distance in the woods and not have to worry about people type of thing, right? So people are finding creative ways now to travel instead. Like, I'm going on my trip and I'm, going to Glacier National Park, and like, yeah, there's people there, but it's in the woods. I'm not going to a city to a bar or something,
Yeah.
So a lot of people's travel plans are changing, and a lot of people are starting to travel more domestically too, because we can't really travel internationally right now. There are a couple places that you can go to, but it's just not as feasible. So it's really interesting to see the people that are taking up like these new hobbies and these new adventures, just like you guys did with your. I mean, would you have ever guessed that you guys would be on this adventure a couple years ago?
Oh gosh, no. I would have never thought in a million years that you would get me in a tent in Florida. I was an RV girl, but I wanted the boat more. And when you're trailering the boat actually serves as additional storage space for my super awesome 3-room pop-up cabin and 2 portable air conditioner units and all the other fixings that go.
I was about to ask. I was about to ask what your definition of glamping was.
We like to stay cool. So for our glamping setup, I know that you have it on the banner there, the River Roamin with the Tillerys.com. We have pictures and we have like a breakdown of how to set up a glamping kitchen and how to, bring all your glamping gear if you're going to bring your dog with you, which we love to do. He's part of our package, which was another thing. When we rented the RV, we weren't able to bring our dog. They had rules against larger animals, and he's a good size. He likes to think he's a lap dog, but he's a good sized boy. So with the glamping setup and the pop-up cabin, the really nice plush air mattresses with the headboards, and like I said, the AC, the I can bring my blender and all of this good stuff. Like lights, fans, it's awesome.
Lights, camera, action.
We got it all. It's a lot easier because we own it, right? So bringing our dog, if he's wet, it doesn't matter. It's just so easy. And again, really cost effective. We can go for a whole weekend, even with booking the sites themselves, plus fuel and everything. None of our trips really exceed $300 from start to finish.
Wow. See, that's really good. I mean, go ahead. What were you saying?
Family of 3. Mm-hmm.
Family of 3. And a dog.
Right.
4. Yeah, no, so that's awesome. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for too. They're looking for those frugal ways. I mean, those are the tips that I give on my channel as well, because people feel like it's so expensive to travel, and it's like, it doesn't really need to be. Even, I mean, look, you're glamping, and it's not even that expensive. Although I'm sure that there was a lot of startup costs that came with that, right?
Yeah, I would say our entire investment initially, minus the pontoon, of course. Thank you, financing. Was just around $1,000.
Okay, so that's with all of the AC. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Right, and we started up a collaboration through doing most of it really through Amazon. So we were able to finance even some of those, the 6 months, 12 months, depending on how big your order is. So we were able to get to it right away with very little hesitation and very little initial upfront output. We were able to knock that out in a couple of bite sizes, and now it's ours.
Absolutely. So what brought you to, what inspired you to share it with everyone? Like, I mean, a lot of people, they would just go and do the trip and be like, okay, bye guys. Like, but you've taken it a step further and you want to educate people on how to actually do this. Like, what inspired you to do that?
I am not entirely certain what the huge motivator was, but I woke up and said, oh my goodness, we have to document this. Like, it's going to be awesome. People should know that there's so much of Florida to explore, and granted, we are focusing on Florida and have plenty of rivers to accomplish. I think it was just something of the idea of, we're going to go down every river, and then the notion that, yeah, we're going to glamp it now. And my son and my husband being like, there's no way you're getting in the tent. I'm like, watch me. And then it was almost like I had to like make myself super accountable and then launch the blog to go with it.
It keeps you extra accountable. Yeah. And they said you wouldn't get in it. And you're like, excuse you.
I
got proof. Look, picture of me in the tent. That's funny. So, so how was it in your first night in a tent?
The first night we went to Tamaka State Park, which is beautiful. We live in the Treasure Coast of Florida. It's just about a 2-hour drive, straight up 95, super simple. Outside of Daytona, you would think this is not going to be rustic or peaceful. It was amazing. And we have this, all of a sudden, there was a storm out in the distance, right? And so before you know it, like just as we settled in for the evening, these giant tropical bands come through. And when we woke up in the morning, I was very impressed with the quality of our tent. I mean, we held up great. We broke down certain things outside because we knew that the winds were really picking up. But there were a number of campers around us that gave up. They packed up and they left. When we woke up in the morning, they were gone. So the first night was a little intense.
Way to welcome you. Welcome to camping, Anna.
But it was a beautiful adventure, and you heard the frogs, and you heard you have the top over, so it's not like you're really exposed. But there's and all the times of being in the RV, you never really hear all the sounds of nature. You don't really feel a cross breeze above you, right? Because you're in an RV. In this ensemble, you do. And I've never slept better. I mean, my husband and I both say it pretty consistently. Like, we sleep amazingly every time we go glamping.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's honestly, whenever I'm hiking or I'm like in nature, just like even just breathing the air, like not being in like a city format or whatever, like where there's a bunch of buildings and cars and such. When I'm hiking and I just get that natural air, I'm just like, it's like, you make me feel alive. Yeah, no, and that's awesome. So it's funny that it was a little bit of a bump in the road, and I was going to ask you actually, like, what bumps in the road have you guys come across because of, I'm sure that not everything's perfect, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what happened?
Well, there's plenty of good stories. Well, so we build each time, right? So like a perfect example was our dog Nemo was so upset with us. We went to the Mayaka State Park, and it was a really cool park, and a tornado went through. We witnessed a beautiful large tornado. Thank goodness it wasn't right next to our campsite, but like that happened. And it was all big, thick rocks, like not just regular soft gravel. It was like intense white jagged rock. And so yeah, we have tarps and things, but an air mattress is for the humans. And yes, I bring a dog bed for our Nemo, but it was just like when he was outside with us or anything, there wasn't any place for him to really like lay and rest. So, now we have these artificial turfs that we can put underneath in the event that there's rocks moving forward. And he got this like outdoor platform bed thrown that he's like, that's what I'm talking about. So he's much more happy. So that was like a learning curve. This past time, we were down in the Loxahatchee, and there you can take the river all the way to where it dead ends, and you can see an original Florida homestead of Trapper Nelson. It's really cool. That's right in our backyard. That's right in Martin County, Jupiter. And we're like, getting ready to go the next morning and stuff. And my son is all nervous. He goes, Mom, when we were out fishing the evening before, we accidentally caught a gator, right? So now I'm like kind of nervous about this water. So it was true. They were just fishing, minding their own business, and up comes like this teenage-sized gator. And I'm down there to go get the boys so that we can go climb Hope Mountain, I think it's called. And I'm like, what is going on here? No. I'm like, so teamwork. You learn about teamwork when you're setting up a camp in the heat, or when you accidentally catch a gator, you got to set them free because that wasn't the goal. We were hoping for like a mud pit, but
well, when you're roaming the rivers of Florida, I guess gators can be there. Kind of like their home. So what kind of fishing do you guys do? Is it the saltwater fishing or more freshwater fishing or both?
Yeah,
obviously a lot of it's brackish water, I'm sure, but
so there's a lot of brackish water around here. So our own Indian River, Sebastian River, St. Lucie River, even parts of the Waxahachie, a lot of that was brackish. But again, the further inland you go, the more fresh water you're going to get. So a lot of the rivers are, of course, inland, so you're going to get a lot of fresh water. However, the Tomaka and the Halifax River, which we were able to do on our first trip, we were able to do 2 rivers. Those were both brackish, and you could do some really great saltwater fishing, of course, towards the intercoastal. So it's snook season right now. The boys are hoping to do some of that in the next couple of weeks, but in the Suwannee, it'll be all freshwater.
So is it just them doing the fishing, or do you assist, or do you just watch?
I'm so good at taking pictures.
One of my ex-boyfriends was a big fisher, so I totally get that. I remember walking down, so I know how it is to be, with a fisher. You walk with them and they're like, "Oh, look at all the bait!" And you're like, "I can't."
Yeah. I can definitely. I've learned how to throw a cast net, but I mean, I love them to do the fishing. It really is fun, and I like to relax more. But again, I'm great for figuring out which kind of fish it was and taking the pictures. And, you know, it all happens so quickly, more or less, once they get the catch that, you know, your time is limited to get to task.
So are they keeping any of the fish? Like, have they kept, like, obviously the ones that you're allowed to keep if you're getting certain fish, and then are you guys like cooking those on the spot? Is that part of your glamping?
You know it is, Lucy. I bring an entire fish fry kit with me. You know, because they provide, obviously, at all the state parks, there's going to be certain amenities that you can expect, and for the Florida forestry campgrounds as well. So you're going to get a picnic table, you're going to get a campfire ring, right, with a little grill on it, and you're going to get electric, and you're going to get water, assuming that you pick those ones. There's, of course, primitive options, but that's not glamping, now is it?
No, it's not. Even the primitive ones, though, come with a picnic table and a campfire, but not the water. No.
No water or no electricity.
Or electricity, correct. You need the AC, yes.
But we bring the oil, and we bring our favorite Zatarain seasoning and all the stuff. We have the cutting board and the knives, and a giant cast iron skillet that we love. So yeah, so we'll grill right on that camp ring. And have everything there to be able to do up a nice little fish fry on a whim if the boys are successful.
So is that something that they did before? Did you guys eat a lot of fish before when they went fishing? Like, I'm assuming that they were fishermen before, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, if they caught something worth keeping, we did. But it's not like we go, I mean, with the pontoon, you really are limited to the waterways you can float about. I mean, you can't really go into the ocean with a pontoon, at least not with our grade of pontoon. So, you know, we've had a lot of sheephead. We've had a lot of, you know, just some standard, some pretty catfish along the way. But
you eat the catfish?
Not really, but I know that a lot of people like to. So depending on.
I hear it's like a kind of like catfish is like, what do they call it? Like, it's just like you caught a negative fish if you caught a catfish. Like,
it's a fun catch, that's for sure. You can find some Mac Daddy. And you know, on occasion you will grab it and fry it up if it looks like it's the right ones. But it's not anything that we have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, how do you find, like, do you have a plan for the different places that you guys are going to? Like, are you kind of just like, we feel like going to this river this weekend or whatever it might be? Like, what's your kind of strategy to get all of these rivers done? And what does a time frame look like?
Cool. I'm hoping that my son, he's 13 now, he'll be 14 in a couple months. I'm hoping that he'll give me at least a whole nother year of all of this expedition. Maybe even 2, but I know that might be pushing it. So I'll take whatever precious time he'll give me because, I mean, I only made one, I only cooked one, and so I want to be able to spend that quality time. You know, we really just use the state parks websites as our point of reference to figure out if they have a boat ramp. So before we were always looking for, you know, what would be the best amenities if we were bringing just our bikes, right? Like, who has the best biking trail? But now we're looking at it, who has the best boat ramp? How many rivers can we get to from that particular boat ramp? So we just recently, I have a day job, and we just had the opportunity to join Visit Florida as a business-to-business member. And Visit Florida was actually on a recent radio show of mine that I host here along the Treasure Coast, called the Treasure Coast Insider. And they were saying how, you know, during these sensitive times that they too are making a big push. The first wave of what their tourism focus is for fellow Florida residents to want to explore more of Florida. That so many of us, just like you had said at the beginning of the show, haven't done so. And, you know, we're so quick to go abroad or travel to a different state that we oftentimes overlook what's right here in our backyard. So they've done some great campaigns with the Florida Forestry and Florida State Parks and other avenues to highlight doing more of those staycations, if you will, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in your own county. you can really, I mean, Florida's just a huge state and very diverse.
Yeah. I mean, it takes like 12 hours to even get out of it from where we live.
Yeah.
It's
So
that,
even Visit Florida feeling the same way, that's something where most Floridians can say they're comfortable with that. Like, hey, I'll hop in the vehicle and I'll go a couple hours. And so with that in mind, we just kind of look at those websites. They each have like little spreadsheets as to whether or not you can camp there. So some of them, they might have access, but you can't camp. So then you do a little research to see, hey, I really want to go to this river at this time. What type of camping options are there? And I mean, gosh, the internet makes everything a lot easier these days.
Yeah, imagine doing this like 20 years ago.
Right?
People ask me all the time, like they'll be like, oh, like how do you find these places? I'm like, the internet, like it's like but it's funny because I travel a lot internationally when I can. Obviously COVID, but so, and a lot of people are like, oh, like how did you find this? Like, how did you find that? I'm like, how do you find somewhere where you go to when you go to New York or you go anywhere else? Like you go to the internet, right? Like it's like the same exact thing, but people, it's like separated in their minds. Like they don't even think that that's a resource. Like it doesn't come first to mind for some reason. I'm not quite sure why.
Well, and I can also understand, I mean, I specialize in marketing and advertising. I can understand that folks might not want to go to a place that they think maybe is over commercialized. And all the more reason why the efforts that you're doing, or even with the launch of our River Roamin with the Tillerys blog, is that it allows people a little sneak peek into what your experiences are without being the standard template of a TripAdvisor or something like that. It's more of an organic search that they could have found and said, wow, I want to do something like that. Hey, my kids in that same age bracket, I bet he or she would love this too. So it becomes a little bit more relatable. Again, still found online, but the story is different, and therefore it might resonate differently with folks.
No, definitely. I see that. And I think that a lot of people, I mean, for instance, there are a lot of articles, social media and Facebook and YouTube, Instagram, all of it has become a catalyst to just like, teaching people like what's actually out there. Because if you think 20 years ago, just like we said, you had no way. I mean, you could go to a book and like find it, like if you wanted, like if you were on a mission to find it, or people would get those guidebooks and then they would take the guidebooks and be like, okay, this is where I go when they go somewhere new. But like now it's like with the internet at your fingertips and you're on Instagram and you're just scrolling and then you see something, you're like, oh, what's that? Ooh, like I have this now new want to go to Argentina. I never wanted to go to Argentina. I didn't know what was in Argentina before, but I saw this beautiful waterfall and I was like, girl, I'm going to Argentina. Like that's happening. So yeah, no, it's just crazy what the internet can do. And I think definitely, like you said, when you bring them on that journey with you, it's, a little bit more personal, and then people can see without like being there, and then they can kind of imagine themselves there. I mean, I saw an article on Facebook about a waterfall road trip to Georgia, and I was like, road trip, waterfalls, I'm in. Let's go. Georgia's next state up. And an extended weekend. And I think a lot of times too, like Americans tend to think that like we think like, oh, we have to take like if we're taking a vacation, it has to be like a week long. And it's like, no, you can take weekend trips. And just like you guys are doing, I mean, you guys are taking this huge adventure and you're doing it with a full-time job. I do all my travel with a full-time job, And it's like, I think that when people see people that are traveling, they're like, oh, they just have a bunch of money and they're just traveling for fun. And, but that's not the case.
I think so much of it is, at least in my area, in my brain right now, it is trying to create these memories, right? Like, I know I get a small window with my boy where he was going to want to hang out with his folks. And these are just things that he just couldn't do. A game can't simulate it for us. And it's, again, cost effective. It's obtainable to do in a weekend spread. And it allows us to, as a family, make memories, but also really be cohesive, right? Like when you are working together trying to set up a glamping site, it is a lot of moving parts. But we have this tradition where as soon as I'm inside and I'm setting up the kitchen and I get the blender and I make these frozen virgin pina coladas. And the moment I bring it out to one to my son and then one to my husband, it's like instant. Everyone is more chill. Like everyone, okay, now we cooled our inside, then let's get back to work. And I can't wait to go explore the rest of the park now that the work is almost at its end and we can go off and start having adventures. So it's just, it's that you're absolutely right. It's if you see it and you think that's obtainable for me and I want to do it, you should do it. You should allow yourself to be motivated enough to have that experience because it's here and it's available. And you might not be able to get it the weekend you want to because it might be full, but just plan for it and you will be rewarded.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of times people I feel like a lot of people are so worried about work, which is fine. I'm a workaholic. I know you're a workaholic. I know we're both on the same page here, but it's okay to be a workaholic, but you also need to realize that we are here on whatever reason we're on this earth for, whatever it might be. We don't live to work. We work to live.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people lose that and just like you said, you're now utilizing that time with your son. And I'll tell you right now, I think that experiences are so important for people and a lot of people can think about the items that they have and such like that, like Christmas time, they get these gifts, but I can tell you right now, if I went on a trip during Christmas, I remember the trip I went on 4 years ago, but I can't tell you what you got me even last Christmas or let alone 4 years ago.
Very valid. Good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it's just those experiences are going to stay with you for the rest of your life. And I think that people really need to understand that. And your son is going to remember that for the rest of his life, the family and the time that he had with you guys. And yeah, that team building, you learn so much from just seeing new places. I'm sure he's learning a lot about the rivers too, that he didn't expect to learn,
And he's becoming quite the boater. And Lucy, what was really funny too is because we had gone in March pre-pontoon, but definitely once COVID had hit, we had already had a trip booked to Pontoon Landing to rent the pontoon and so forth. And I had our son do the boater safety online because it was spring break and school wasn't in session. And so I said, hey, take this couple of days, get this done, and then you can help drive the boat when we're on Pontoon Landing, rented pontoon. And so everything kind of fell into place, but he's becoming quite the boater. He's learning how to master so many different knots when it comes to fishing. But those are just some of the staple things. Then there comes the times where something breaks at the site and you got to improvise and you have to, and so my husband, he's like a natural MacGyver too. So it's just these are the things where probably might not happen at home, but when you're out there in the woods, you're looking at it differently going, there is no run into home.
There is no Amazon to me right now.
And so they're life skills for sure. And,
yeah.
And the background that you have here is so beautiful. When you get on the river, you really do feel, I know people say this about the ocean too, you feel the negative ions just kind of escaping and helping to soothe everything within your body as the waves crash and so forth. The river is much the same way, but it has this different feel. It's almost like all these arms are wrapped around you to hug you and try and keep your mind from going in too many different directions. I do some of my best thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I've done some paddleboarding up in Fort Pierce and stuff. I've gotten really into paddleboarding pretty much during COVID. During COVID, I started paddleboarding. Never would have expected to do that, but I always liked kayaking before, and then now I'm into paddleboarding, and it's I went through the mangroves and everything like that, and I actually took a friend out there, and he had no idea, he was from Colorado. He didn't know. So he was he was like, oh, what are these? I'm like, these are mangroves. And I learned this in school. I was like, red mangroves and black mangroves and whatever. And white mangroves. And I was like, yay, school taught me something.
For sure. You're like, I'm a survivalist. I love it.
Yep, exactly. And it was really like the mangroves and the systems and the ecosystems are just so incredible, like how they truly just interact with each other and just nature in general, how it just is. It just is. And we're like a part of it. And I think when we're in our working world, like we almost forget that like nature's there, but it's always been there. So I love that.
And in Florida, it's so close.
It is. There's so much to explore here. And I mean, I tell that it's, we're here. Are you from Florida?
Detroit, born and raised. But yeah, I'm here now 16 years.
Okay, 16 years. So, you've been here a while. And here, I'm born and raised here, but it's like when people think of Florida, they think Miami and Orlando. And then they just like if you go anywhere else, like if you go outside of our country, or even if you just go to like an island or something, they like, oh, you're from Florida, so you're from Miami? Like, no. So, but like there's so many other places. Like I would say that Miami and Orlando are like the things that least describe Florida, in my opinion. Like I think, yeah, of course Disney's great, Miami's great, there's great things, but I think that like the true, like we have St. Augustine, and we have Tampa, we have Fort Myers, we have the Gulf on one coast and the Atlantic on the other, and then we have like the Keys. Like there's so many different things that you can do, and I mean you're going to be navigating a lot through it. So
So we actually put off, so we're already planning all of our trips for 2021, and anyone that's thinking about doing, again, depending on which campground, there might only be 30 sites. It's like you can book it 11 months out, and so I feel like there's other people that have the same weekends in mind, and they're also directly in front of their computer at midnight the 11th month out to ensure that they get their spot to be a happy camper. But I would say that if you're thinking about it and it's not in the balance of 2020 for you, but you think that you want to, now is the time to be looking and commit. And the other thing about Florida too that I think people are hesitant about, and especially since we started really in the summer, is the bad weather comes and goes. Really, I mean, it's like you will get a storm come down, and within an hour it's all gone. So make sure you have your misters, your fans, and of course bug spray. But it's all very bearable, and it will pass, and you can still go out exploring. Or it could be raining all around you, and you could be completely in the one sunny spot that is there to be had, and it's amazing.
It really is. No, when I went to Itchitucknee Springs and I did camping up there, like it rained, when we were on the way there, it literally torrential downpoured on us, and I was like, well, this is what happens when I try to go on a trip. And then when we literally 10 minutes later, it was like sunny. I was like, Florida, you're so bipolar.
Persevere. Just don't let it dampen your spirits. You just keep going. Find that weekend that you think is going to work in your schedule, book it, commit to it. I mean, I'd like to say it can be super spontaneous, and there's some of the bigger parks where you can. If there's 100 sites, you might be able to. But if not, plan and just seize the moment, because you will not be disappointed.
Absolutely. So, is there any tips that you would give? Like, what's your number one tip for doing what you guys are doing right now?
Number one tip out for having fun, or for setup?
For, let's say, your number one tip for someone if they want to start doing this as well. Like, let's say they want their own Glampmobile and everything, what's the number one tip that you would give them?
Well, to go to my website so that they can procure everything that they need, because it's all there. All the links are there. Though truly, I would say that finding the right tent that has the AC ports so that you can incorporate air conditioning with your tent is brilliant. It will make you love anything about your experience when you know that there's that reprieve that you can have, or in the middle of the day, if you need to change it up from one adventure to the next, and you can have that 5 minutes to regroup. I mean, it's It's the best investment. Even at this last camping trip we went, like we saw 2 other tents that had the AC ports, and we all stopped and we're talking and like sharing the fact that it makes the experience. So that would be an essential, I would say, because you can get inflatable watercrafts, which I highlight on the site. There's lots of different things you can do to get yourself out onto the water. You don't have to get a pontoon, but to really have comfort in Florida in summer and even in late fall, I mean, it's just warm. So I would say that the tent and the AC units is meant. You'll be so set.
I'm going to share some pictures really quick that you shared with me of you guys on the boat. There's your bloopers.
So that's Nemo. That's our son Charlie, my husband Michael, and that's me. And that's the Withlacoochee River outside of the Withlacoochee National Forest, not too far from Ocala. And it means in Indian, winding waters. And I kid you not, Lucy, every curve was like a giant snake. It was so fun. You couldn't just like chill at the wheel. Like you had to be on point. And that was my birthday weekend. That was really awesome.
Aw, so that was your birthday weekend, not the Mother's Day weekend, right?
No, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it looks like a blast.
Yeah, and then the other one, that's on Mayaka. And Mayaka Lake, there was a lot of rainfall. That was the same trip as the tornado. So the river was flooded, and it was really hard to see the path to the river. But within our voyage on the lake and getting to the river, we counted over 40-something alligators. It was crazy. It was all over.
And it's like, I'm sitting in the middle of the pontoon. Ain't no alligators gonna get me.
They were big.
That's crazy. Wow. No, that's I'm sure it was a blast, and I'm excited to see what you guys have coming on your new trip and your upcoming trips. Quick question though, and then we can simmer down. But are you planning on creating a YouTube channel?
Ooh, I haven't. I mean, I have one presently as my own self, but I hadn't thought to really launch one. Do you love it, Lucy?
Do I love it?
Yours?
I do. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but I think that the value that it brings, because a lot of people, when they digest information, like they want to see it. Again, taking them on your journey with you. I mean, think about if you had a video for each river that you went down.
I do. I have them on the site. Like I post like a montage video, and I do upload it to my own YouTube, but I didn't make it a River Roamin with the Tillerys YouTube. But yes, every adventure has a montage video.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, like talking about like what is different with those different places, people would love that. They eat it up.
Yeah.
Like alligators.
Like them gators.
So yeah, no, I think that would be great. I just didn't know if it was in the cards for you or not. But I know how much it goes into a YouTube channel, and having a full-time job and a YouTube channel is a lot.
But it can be done.
But it can be done. I'm doing it, and it's great. No, I love it. So it is, and the people that you get to meet as well. And I'm sure you guys are meeting a lot of people on your travels as well. And I mean, they might be interested in it too. Like, think about if maybe they're just a random family that decided, oh, we're just gonna camp here, and then you're like, oh yeah, we have like, you get in those conversations. We're going around all the rivers, and they're like, oh, okay.
Right.
So
good point, Lucy.
Just saying, some nibbits. Anyways, well, is there any last thoughts that you want to share with everyone?
My goodness. I would simply say that it's going to be Labor Day weekend. We're in a very unique environment right now, yet there's a lot to be thankful for. And so I would just say that if you get the opportunity to get out in any way, shape, or form and just try and reconnect with nature this Labor Day, it'll make you be so proud to be an American. And I highly endorse it.
Well, with that highly endorsed message, I also endorse just getting out there and seeing whatever you can. I mean, that's what my whole channel is about, is just inspiring people to like go beyond what they what they expect. And I think that there's so much value in just exploring anywhere other than where you are currently. There are some people, I don't know if you know, but like there's a big statistic of people in the US that have never left like their hometown or their surrounding city. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow.
I can't even imagine.
I want a vehicle. All you gotta do is get in and drive.
Yeah, just like leave. But like
Just
some
go.
people they never leave their hometown because it's like all they ever know, and they don't think to go beyond it. They're just like, this is it. And it's like, you know, getting beyond that, like when you realize this isn't it and there's so much more out there. I mean, I love it. I could have never guessed that I would be where I am today, but I'm so thankful that I am.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. So if you guys that are watching, please go and follow Anna and her family. They are awesome, and you can find them at River Roamin with the Tillerys on social media across the board, potentially on YouTube eventually. Oh, their website. So make sure you guys go and check them out. All of the links are in the description of this video as well. So follow them and on their adventure. And thank you so much, Anna, for joining me today. It was a pleasure talking to you and learning about your adventure a little bit deeper.
Thank you, Lucy. You are a travel inspiration.
Oh, thanks. And you guys who are also watching, you can come to my Travel Tip Tuesday every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and go live with a new guest. So we will see you guys next week. And thank you again, Anna, and bye for now.